Hi BookTube, Sarah here, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with my June 2020 wrap-up and stats. I've been seeing everybody else's wrap-ups come up and I just love watching them, so super excited to share this with you. For those of you who are new to my channel, the way I do this every month is I go through all my stats because I do keep a rather large spreadsheet of all my stats from all of my reading. I just love that. It makes me super happy. It's the Let's Read spreadsheet that's done by Brock. If I remember to, I will leave it linked in the description box below. He kind of redoes it every year, but it's pretty super awesome and extremely detailed. If you want to get into that amount of detail, you don't necessarily have to, but it's kind of a great place if you are interested in keeping track of your reading. So yeah, so I go through all of my stats for the month, and then instead of going through every book that I read, because I kind of do that in my vlogs every week, is I'm going to give you my, excuse me, my top 5 books that I read this month, or read in the month of June. Plus I'm going to talk about like my challenges and stuff like that that I've done. Mostly the Romance Readers Reading Group on Goodreads, mostly their monthly challenge, because I tend not to talk about that one during the month so much. But yeah, let's jump in and get started. So in the month of June, I read 24 books, which is actually slightly less than the month before, but that's okay. You know, reading is reading. It doesn't matter. As per my Goodreads goal, I am 16 books ahead of schedule at 136 out of 240 books read, which is about 57%. I read 1 2.5-star book, sadly, 1 3-star book, 7 3.5-star books, 8 4-star books, 5 4.5-star books, and 2 5 stars this month. 2. And I do apologize if you can hear the cat crying outside. I mentioned in my Friday reads and in my vlog coming up, my mom got 2 cats. And he's beating up on my cats, so they have to be separated. So he's outside the door, and he's rather unhappy that my Gorn is in here with me, because he just wants to play, but Gorn's like, no, man, I'm too old for that. Just, he's too aggressive. That's the problem. So anyway, back to the stats. 6 contemporary romance novels, 3 chick lit, 3 historical romance, 3 women's fiction, 2 romantic suspense, 1 historical fiction, 1 middle grade fiction, 1 mystery, 1 nonfiction, 1 paranormal romance, a thriller, and a YA contemporary. So not too shabby this month, you guys. Like, I was a little bit all over the map in terms of what I was actually reading, which was kind of nice. I like to keep track of which Harlequin imprints I read and how many I read. And I read Intrigue, only Intrigue this month, and there was 3 of them, so that was fun. I read, for the audience that the books are geared towards, I read 22 adult books, 1 middle grade, and 1 YA. I read 1 book published in the 1990s, 11 published between 2010 and 2019, and I read 12 books published this year. That's crazy. Of all the books I read, 15 of them were audiobooks, 8 of them were ebooks, and 1 was a hardcover. I read 23 of the books were novels, and 1 was a novella series. 15 of the books I read were part of a series, and 9 were standalone. Of those 15 that were part of a series, 7 were part of an ongoing series. Sadly, 8 of them I started new series because I have a problem. I read a grand total of 7,759 pages for the month, which averages out to about 258 pages per day, which is pretty good. So, challenges and events, really the only thing I've been participating in is the Romance Readers Reading Group on Goodreads, their monthly challenge. They give you, I will leave linked July's in case you're interested in joining. They give you 10 prompts and lots of different options for those prompts to pick books. And it's essentially just to pick a book for each prompt and read them. So I did all 10, and this is the 4th year and 6th month that I've done this. So I've done this for 4 years and 6 months and not missed a month yet. I do love keeping track of that. I don't know why. It just makes me happy. So the first question, and I'm going to go through the question and then what book I actually read for that one. So we have number 1 is Happy Birthday June. Read a book published in June, or read a book with black or white on the cover in honor of June's birthstone, The Pearl. And I read The Bad Boy of Redemption Ranch by Maisie Yates. This book was published in June. It is a new release as of 2020. It just came out. It was really, really enjoyable. I think I gave it 4 stars. Next up, Flower of the Month was a honeysuckle. And the honeysuckle symbolizes romance and happiness. Honeysuckle derives its name from the edible sweet nectar obtained from its tubular flowers. Read a book with something sweet on the cover or a book with the letter H anywhere in the title, or a book that makes you happy. So I read The Highlander Who Protected Me by Vanessa Kelly. There's an H in the title, of course. This one was cute. I liked it. I think it was a 3.5 star, but it was enjoyable. Next up, the Featured Author Challenge was Nora Roberts and or J.D. Robb, which is the same person, of course. Read one book written by Nora Roberts or J.D. Robb or any author with her first or last name. Also read a book set in Maryland or by an author who is from Maryland. You can also read any book published in the 1980s or a book shelved as a suspense or a book that was written by an author who also has a pen name or a book that would be perfect to cuddle up with during a blizzard. I told you, they give you lots of extra options. And I read Please See Us by Caitlin Mullen. This was a suspense novel. I really enjoyed it. Super good. Does it? Yes. We'll talk more about that one in a little bit. Next up, number 4. June the 4th is Hug Your Cat Day. I kind of love that. If you're a cat lover, you can really appreciate the warm, cozy feeling you get when you curl up on the couch or the chair and hug your cat. Read a book with a hug or an embrace on the cover, or a book that features animals, shifters count, in the storyline or on the cover, or a book that makes you feel warm and cozy like a hug. And the book that I read was Wild in Love by Eloisa James, because there is a skunk in the story. She has a pet skunk whose name is Sweet Pea. I thought it was perfect. It was delightful. This book was super delightful, and I highly recommend it. It's a great start to the series. June the 8th is Best Friend Day. Best friends are very special people, and they deserve to be celebrated. This is a day to really honor and cherish the relationship with your best friend. Read a book with best friends in the storyline, or a friends to lovers romance, or a book with blue on the cover. And I read A Highlander Walks into a Bar by Laura Trentham, This one is a very blue cover as far as I'm concerned. Super, super cute story. I really enjoyed this one, although I do recommend that you maybe do not pick it up on audio. The audio was okay, but it wasn't fantastic. The author had a few issues, I think, with pulling off both a Southern Georgia accent and a Scottish accent, especially when two of those characters were talking to each other. And I mean, hey, that is a skill. That is something. I mean, she did a really good job, but I still think it might be better if you actually read the story in a physical book or an ebook. Next up, June the 19th is National Kissing Day. The objective of this very special day is to appreciate and enjoy a kiss. So go ahead and swap some spit today. Pucker up and give out a big juicy kiss to anyone or everyone. Okay, maybe wait until social distancing is over, it says. Read a book with someone attractive on the cover, or a book with a predominantly pink or red cover, or a book that includes the letters KISS in the author's name, book title, or series title. And I read The Sum of All Kisses by Julia Quinn. Of course, the word kiss is in the title, so it absolutely fits. This one was so cute. I think this is the 3rd book in the Smythe Smith Quartet. I'm really liking this one. I only have one more to go, and then this series will be done. But it is a super cute spinoff of the Bridgerton series. June the 22nd this is number 7. June 27th is World Rainforest Day. World Rainforest Day is a recently new special holiday. It was created in 2017 to raise awareness of the importance of rainforests around the world for the health of the earth and ultimately your health too. Rainforests are decreasing at an alarming rate, and it is time to pay attention to this vital asset and reverse the trend of shrinking rainforest areas. I absolutely agree. Read a book with an outdoor scene on the cover, or a book with a character who volunteers in some helpful way, or a book published in 2017. And I read The Aussie Next Door by Stephanie London. In this one, Angie, our main character, volunteers at a senior's home, so it fits. And this one was absolutely delightful. You got to listen to this one on audio if you can. I believe it was part of the Audible Escape package. Really, really delightful. Next up, number 8 is Flip Flop Day. Each year on the 3rd Friday in June is National Flip Flop Day. Whether you call them thongs, plankies, zoris, sandals, clam diggers, slippers, or flip-flops, find them and wear them, though maybe don't go outside if it's winter in your neck of the woods. Read a book with paws or feet visible on the cover, or a book set in summer, or a book with a 3 anywhere in the publication date. And I read Home with You by Liza Kendall. This has a 3 in the publication date. It was published on March 31st of this year, so it's a new release. Super cute small town romance. I really, really enjoyed it. This author is a delight to read, and I absolutely recommend that you try her books out. Next up, number 9, June the 24th, is International Fairy Day. Fantasy, imagination, and a little bit of pixie dust come together on June 24th in honor of these tiny supernatural creatures that have captivated myth and legend for generations. And Peter Pan J.M. Barrie wrote that when the first baby laughed, the laugh broke into 1,000 pieces, and that was the beginning of fairies. Read a book shelved as paranormal/fantasy, or a book with a mischievous character, your interpretation, or a book that makes you laugh. And I read a book that did make me laugh. These ones are really delightful. Her writing is super witty, and that is The Waffle House on the Pier by Tilly Tennant. I really, really like this one. I thought it was super cute. And last but not least, pretty self-explanatory, reader's choice. Read any book of your choosing. I just picked the last one because I forgot that I needed to add one more book to this, and I read Shadows in the Night by Heather Graham, which is the second book in the Finnegan Connection series, and this was the last book that I finished in June on audio, and it was delightful. Now, let's get into my top 5 books of the month. So, coming in, as I like to say, this is from my least most favorite to my most favorite. We have One Summer in Santorini by Sandy Baker. I gave this one 4.5 stars. This was such a good novel. I enjoyed this one so much. It is about a girl by the name of Sarah who has just suffered a breakup, and she books this trip. She's from Sydney, Australia, and she books a trip to yacht around the Greek islands with 6 strangers, and romance ensues, and this book is truly a love letter to the Greek islands. It was delightful. It was so atmospheric. Do not read this book on an empty stomach because the talk of the food in this book made me so hungry. Absolutely delightful. Definitely check it out. Coming in 4th place is Please See Us by Caitlin Mullen. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I kind of mentioned it already. It was one of the ones for my my challenge. And like I said, this one was a suspense. I wouldn't really call it a thriller per se, but it was definitely a suspense novel. And it takes place in Atlantic City, and these women are being killed. And you are getting this story from 4 different perspectives. One from a woman who has just moved back to Atlantic City. She was born and raised there, then moved to New York, and she's an art dealer. And she's lost her job and her boyfriend all in the same go. And now she's back in town, and she's just kind of working at this local spa. And she finds out about these women going missing and kind of starts to investigate. And she gets the help of a young girl named Clara, who is a clairvoyant, if you will. She does palm readings and tarot card readings and things like that in Atlantic City. And the two of them kind of team up. And then the third voice is this guy that I don't want to say too much about. And then the last voice is actually the voices of the women who died. And you kind of get their backstory leading them to this point at the end of their life. And it was so well written. I mean, this book was so good. I believe this is the author's debut work. And it was really, really enjoyable. It kept me going. Like, it kept me reading the whole way through. It came out earlier this year, and I absolutely recommend it. Coming in spot number 3 is 10 Things I Hate About Pinky by Sandie Manon. I gave this one 4.5 stars as well. This one was so cute. I love her work so much. I have not been disappointed by one of her books yet. And this is like the 3rd installment in the Dimple and Rishi universe. The first book being When Dimple Met Rishi, and then there's something about Sweetie, and now this one. So this is Pinky's story and Samir, and the two of them it's an enemies to lovers story. And she invents a boyfriend while she's off on vacation with her parents, and Samir becomes that fake boyfriend, like he's playing the boyfriend. And it's a super cute story. I don't want to say much more than that. It takes place over summer vacation, and it was absolutely delightful. Again, these stories just make me happy. There's not too much more to them than that. I mean, they're good books, don't get me wrong. Like, they're well written with great character development and things like that, but they're just delightful books. And that's the whole reason that you should pick them up, in my opinion. And coming in spot number 2 was East Coast Girls by Carrie Clutter. This one I gave 5 stars. This was one of my 5-star reads of the month. This one was so good. It was a women's fiction. It was a women's fiction. And it's about 3 best friends. Was it 3? 4 best friends who have known each other since they were little girls. And then one event happens the last night of school before summer vacation. And it kind of tears the group apart in a way, and they're never quite the same again. Some of the girls are not talking to, one of the girls isn't talking to her other friend, to one of the friends. And something happens that brings them all back together to the grandmother's cottage. I think it was in Montauk. and they end up deciding to spend one last long weekend at this cottage before it gets sold. That's what it was. So the cottage is going to be sold, so you know they kind of gather all back together for this summer, and in the meantime you're also getting backstory of what happened and the events that led up to this incident and what happened over the course of this incident, and you know what happens afterward. It was so good, really beautifully written. I really liked all the characters. I do recommend this one. If you are absolutely into women's fiction, you need to check this one out. It was really enjoyable, and my favorite book of the month. The Last Train to Key West by Chanel Clayton. 5 stars. Loved this historical fiction. Loved everything about this. It was brilliant. It was beautiful. It was amazing. It was such, in a way, a simple story, but told so beautifully. Does that make sense? It didn't have to be this big, complex, whatever. It was a very simple, in a way, basic kind of story. So it's about 3 women. And the first woman is Helen, and she is pregnant and also in an abusive relationship. Then we have Marta, who has just been married. She was in Cuba. She's a Cuban person, and she has come to Key West, Florida. The whole book takes place in Key West. And with her new husband, they're making a pit stop there for their honeymoon before they continue on to New York City. And then you have Elizabeth, who is a younger girl. She's about 18 or 19, and she's coming down on train from New York to the Keys to search for her brother. These 3 women's lives interconnect as this story begins to unfold, and you find out more about them personally. And this entire time there is a massive hurricane, which actually happened. It's a true event that took place over the Labor Day weekend in 1935 in Key West, or in the Florida Keys. And this massive hurricane, I think one of the worst, with the dip in barometric pressure to actually hit the mainland ever. And it was devastating. I've been watching a couple of videos and stuff on YouTube and reading up about it because it's very interesting. Because there used to be a railroad that went through the Keys, where now there's that the highway, but it used to be a railroad, and this hurricane wiped out most of that railroad. Hence the title, The Last Train to Key West. So yeah, it was so fantastic. I highly recommend that you read it. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful on audio, and highly recommend it. So anyway, guys, that is all that I have for this video today. I do hope that you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below. Have you read any of the books that I mentioned? Or what was your favorite book that you read in June? And until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.